Welcome to another short subject from educatevirtually.com. Let's talk a little bit about the QFD process design roadmap. Now, I think there was an original video that I put up that is not as clear because of the way I shot the video. So let's see if we can do this again and make it a little clearer for you to see and view. So quality function deployment is a matrix analysis method. We can use this to help us to prioritize complex things. So in process design, the roadmap that we have with QFD and how it can help us is we would start with customer requirements. All right, so what are those customer requirements that are important? And we get a list of the customer requirements and we can begin to build our QFD matrix, and we will rate and rank them. And we'll go through a series of criteria: performance now, performance expected in the future, market leverage factors, etc., to come up with a score for each one of these customer requirements. And then we'll put them in Pareto order from the most important to the least important. And that's the beginning of the QFD. So then, what we're trying to do, we're trying to design this process, and we begin to think about the process, say, okay, what is the functionality of this process? What are the functions that the process must achieve so that we can meet customer requirements? So functions, and this is an important step in whether you're designing a process or designing a product, designing a service delivery. Okay, the function analysis is really key here from the standpoint of it helps us to understand just what it is that our process or our product or our service delivery, but let's just focus on the process here. The functional analysis answers the question, what is it that this process is supposed to do? So we would start with a statement of our prime function. All right, and that prime function is going to lead to some sub-functions. All right, and if this is what I have to achieve, then these are the how I'm going to get it done. And then if I look at these sub-functions, there may be some other functions that are going to be required for these to be delivered. And then this now becomes the what, and these become the how. So the way it works is the subs tell us how we're going to achieve this. These sub-functions tell us how we're going to achieve these. So it's a what, how relationship that we have in our function analysis. Usually in process design, if we get to this level of detail, all right, that's usually about as much detail as we need from a function analysis when we're looking at a process. So this is what I have to get done. Then how am I going to do it? Well, I have a number of things that I would have to do to allow me to achieve this, and then there's a number of things that I may have to do to be able to achieve this. So now, with this function analysis completed, we can go back to our QFD and we can take all of our functions. Okay, so now here we have our functional requirements, and now I can take a look at this and say, do any of these functional requirements drive customer requirements? So I'm looking at it from the standpoint of, does one of these guys drive this? This is what I have to achieve. This is how I have to get it done. So does a function drive a customer requirement? Does a function drive multiple customer requirements? I'll use the rating that I have here as a multiplier of the relationship score that I have, and then I'll end up with an overall score for all these functions, which I then can put into a Pareto order, and now I end up with a priority right, of my functions. Now the functions are prioritized based on their ability to meet customer requirements. All right, then I'll take my function requirements, which I now have. So now I have my functional requirements here. I'll build another matrix, and on the top of this matrix, what we're going to have will be processes and also systems. So what are the processes and the systems that I'm going to have so that I can meet a particular function requirement? If I can meet the function requirement, I know that I'll be able to meet the customer requirement. So this way I'm going to align my processes and my systems through the functional requirements back to the customer requirements. And this way, as I build my process, I'm going to be able to make sure that I'm going to achieve all customer requirements by being able to meet all functional requirements. Then these, we do the relationships here, we'll get a priority for these. And the next matrix is going to have processes and systems that have been prioritized. And now we can put together our organization that is going to be required to make sure that my processes and systems can function. I'm going to have some kind of an organization that's going to run these processes. So what is that going to look like? Well, I know what processes and systems I have to have. What are the organizational requirements that I have to make sure that I can execute those? If I can execute them, then I'm going to be able to meet the functional requirements, which allows us to then meet customer requirements. All right, so my roadmap basically comes to here, and then from here it comes down to here, and at the tail end I have my organization, I have my processes and my systems, I know I can meet the functional requirements, and I know I can meet my customer requirements. So QFD is allowing us to translate the customer requirements all the way down to my organizational structure that is going to be used to drive and support, execute and run all of my processes and systems that will meet all functional requirements and meet customer requirements. And if we do that, you're going to have very satisfied customers, you're going to have an efficient operation, your processes are going to function very, very well, and that's the QFD process design roadmap. And I hope that was relatively easy to understand. But anyway, we have training on this at educatevirtually.com. We've got a quality function deployment course online ready for you.